Are you a realtor looking for that next big tool to take your business to the next level? If that is you, then stick around. Welcome back to the show, everyone. If you're anything like me, if you're in the real estate industry, then more than likely you probably get bombarded on a daily basis with all sorts of new fix-it tools, the next big thing that's going to take your business to the next level. You probably see emails about it, you get phone calls about it, you see it on social media. There are so many people out there touting the next big thing for real estate. If you're not doing this one thing, then you're going to be going out of business. This is the one thing that is going to rocket ship you to the moon. And the fact of the matter is that I believe that while all of those products do in fact have value, if you really dig into them and you give 100% time, energy, and attention to that strategy, there's a very high likelihood that it will actually produce the results that they say that it will produce. See, the problem though is that I believe we're all on tool overload, especially in real estate. Meaning that there are a bazillion tools out there. You need to do open houses. You need to do this. You need to do that. You got to go to this conference. You got to talk to this person. You got to hire this coach. You got to da-da-da-da-da-da-da. We are on tool overload. And what ends up happening is we end up doing 1,000 things really crappy instead of doing 1 to 2 things really well. And so that's what we're going to touch on in this video. See, I call myself the anti-tool guy. I don't think that the problem in our industry is that we don't have enough tools. We have got more than enough tools. That is not the problem. That's why I'm the anti-tool guy. And let me just clarify that. When I say I'm the anti-tool guy, I don't mean that we don't need tools. I am anti 1,000 different tools, right? I am for picking one thing and sticking to it. But at the end of the day, what we're going to talk about on this video is that while tools are great, there's really 3 components that make up the success of our business. Tools is one of them. And so we're going to talk about these 3 components in this video, about how we become more successful, how we properly leverage tools so that we can create the life and the business that we truly want to create for ourselves and for our families. Now, before we jump into this, I just want to take a moment and remind you, if you have not already subscribed to the channel, if you are enjoying this content, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and make some comments down below so I know what kind of content is resonating with all of you who are watching this. I want to create as much content as I possibly can that resonates with what you need and what can help you create the life and the business that you've always wanted. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the bell. That way you get notified every time we post new content. All right, so let's jump right in. So as I said, I believe there's really 3 components to creating the kind of success that most people want in real estate. Tools is one of them. Okay, but the one that we're going to actually start out with is mindset. See, mindset is the foundation to everything that we do. If our mindset is out of whack, then everything that we do, whether it's tools or whatever, it's going to be built on quicksand. And everything that we try to do is just going to sink. So when we're talking about being as successful as we possibly can, both personally and professionally, all of it starts with mindset. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. But, I think it's interesting in our industry, in the real estate industry, I hear so many people kind of touch on mindset. They talk about mindset. Mindset is everything. Mindset's really important. But let me show you this tool that you need that's actually going to get you where you need to go. And the conversation around mindset, in my opinion, is not happening nearly enough. We're not going deep enough into the mindset components of our business. And ultimately, it's hurting all of us, right? Everybody knows how important mindset is. Everybody knows how important mindset is, yet nobody's spending enough time really talking about what it means to have a strong mindset, what it means to, leverage our mindset to create the kind of the kind of success that we want, Freudian slip there, in our business and in our life. And so once again, I'm going to say it again, and you will hear me say this over and over and over and over and over again on my videos. Mindset is everything. And so pretty much everything that I talk about on this channel is going to have something to do with mindset. because that's where it all begins. It is the foundation for our life. And so let's define that a little bit. What is mindset? What do I even mean by the word mindset? So our mindset is the way that we look at the world. It's the things that we tell ourselves, the things that we say to ourselves, the things that we think, our attitude towards the world, right? Our mindset, and this is why it's our foundation, is because our mindset is essentially the lens with which we look out into the world. Therefore, if our mindset is scarcity, so we're full of fear, anger, rage, frustration, pain, hurt, whatever it is, right? If we're full of all of these negative emotions, if the way we talk to ourselves is belittling, if we're constantly saying, well, you haven't done it in the past, so how are you going to do it in the future? Or you don't know what you're doing, or you're such a loser, or there's no way you can do this, or you're overwhelmed, or whatever it is, right? And keep in mind, a lot of people do these things without even thinking about it. It's almost subconsciously that we say these negative things to ourselves. And ultimately, those are all part of our mindset. Because what happens is when we have these negative feelings, when we have this negative viewpoint of the world, when we look out there and we say, well, how come I haven't created it yet? What's wrong with me? How come this person can do it in 6 months and I've been trying for 3 years and I still haven't done it? See, that's a mindset. And when our mind and our energy is set in that type of mentality, then it makes it nearly impossible for us to grow beyond where we currently reside right now. We are essentially living in the past. We're looking at what we've accomplished in the past, and we're saying, that's all that I've ever been able to do, therefore that's all I'm ever going to be able to do. And then anything that we try, whether it's the new tools or whatever, we implement them in a way that is not in alignment with the progression of our personal and professional lives. So hopefully this is making sense, right? If we are constantly beating ourselves up, if we are taking ourselves down, if we are spewing negativity out into the world, that is the lens with which we see the world. That is the foundation that we build everything on. That means when the tool comes in, it just sinks into quicksand of negativity and, like a lack of vision. It just sinks. And so the tool does not become worth anything. It's not valuable because our mindset is not properly calibrated. And so the lens with which we're viewing the world, the lens with which we are utilizing that tool is actually holding us back and making that tool, rendering that tool essentially useless. Now, as I said, one of the big components of this channel is talking about mindset, right? So there's going to be lots of videos throughout this channel where I'm going to be talking about how to manipulate our mindset. And I mean this in a good way, right? How do we change our mindset? How do we make our mindset work for us so that we're building a foundation of granite versus a foundation of quicksand? So I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now. However, what I will say, just a couple quick things that I'll touch on for ways to improve our mindset. Number one, meditation. In the morning, every morning, practice meditation. Get quiet, right? Allow your mind and your body to connect, and try to experience what it is that you want to experience in life. And I'll shoot some videos on remembering your future, which is a Joe Dispenza thing, and things like that. So some other strategies in that. But one strategy you can use to change your mindset is meditation. Another one is a gratitude practice. And I just wrote an email about this today, and I called it Gratitude Platitudes. I'm not talking about platitudes like, I'm so grateful for the fact that I have a house. I'm so grateful for my car. It's about experiencing and feeling the gratitude. See, because when we sink into an actual experience of gratitude, we are feeling gratitude. It's impossible to be in a negative mindset. It's impossible to be in a state. It is not possible to be in a state of lack and scarcity when we are in a mental state, an emotional state that is gratitude. So if we want to build a more solid foundation where we are, trying to move forward, we're thinking about what's possible for ourselves, really helps to come from a place of gratitude. All right, so the first thing is mindset. So if we want to create a more successful business, if we want to create a more successful life, the first thing, and I would argue maybe the most important thing, is the mindset, because it is the foundation. The second thing is, you guessed it, tools. Yes, we need tools. We have to have tools, right? It's a lot harder to build a house if we don't have a hammer and nails. Tools are really important. So at the beginning of this video, I talked about how tools are overplayed in our industry. And so I'm not saying that tools are bad. I'm saying that there are so many tools out there that we can get lost in a sea of, I don't know what to do. It can be confusing. Do I do this or do I do this? Do I do this or do I do this? And if our mindset isn't super stable, then a lot of times we don't have a clear vision about where it is that we're actually going. And so it's kind of like, well, I'll half-ass play with this tool. Okay, that didn't work. I'll half-ass play with this tool. That didn't work either. Okay, now this one. Okay, that didn't work either. So we kind of pick and choose these little tools and we go, oh, okay, that was a waste of money. Okay, that was a waste of money. Okay, that was a waste of money. And the fact of the matter is that the tool's not necessarily flawed. Maybe it is. Maybe they're selling you snake oil. But I would argue that most of the time they're actually selling you a good product. It's how you are leveraging that product. It would be the equivalent of, someone saying, hey, the best way to build a house instead of using nails is screws. And you go, sweet. And you grab a screw and you take your hammer and you try and beat the screw into the wood, right? It doesn't work very well. It doesn't work like that. You need a screwdriver, right? So a lot of times it's the mindset that gives us the ability to look at the tools that are being offered with us and even be able to combine tools and find new strategies to leverage those tools appropriately, and so that they become more successful. See, when we have a solid foundation, when we have a solid mindset, we look at a tool, we start playing with it, we realize there's problems, we realize there's flaws, there's little holes, we want to do things better, we're hammering on this screw and it's not really going in. And so then we say, okay, so if our mindset is quicksand, then we say, well, this tool's stupid. Why would anybody use screws? This is so dumb. I'm going to go back to nails, right? If we have a foundation of granite, if we've got a mindset where we look at that and we go, well, hold on a second. Now, I know these screws work. These worked for hundreds of other people. Why is the screw not working for me? I don't get it. What do I need to do differently? See, that's a completely different mindset. Now we're looking at a problem from the lens of, I have the solution. I just need to figure it out. So we are coming at life from an angle of, how do I change it? How do I work with it? How do I fix it? How do I make it better? See, that's an abundant mindset. And so once again, what I'll say about tools is they are very important. We need tools. And in our industry, we are so lucky. We're so blessed to have an abundance of tools. An abundance of tools. There's so many tools to do so many different things. So my suggestion, I guess, or challenge would be to find a tool that resonates with whatever it is that you're trying to create and figure out how to make that tool work for you. Period. Or change your mindset so that you are ready to leverage that tool in an appropriate way and then take that tool and make it work for you. Make it work for you. So the first item is our mindset, right? The first way to create more successful personally and professionally is to work on our mindset. And one more thing I'll say about mindset, it's a lifelong work, right? It's never like, yay, my mindset's fixed. That never happens. It's lifelong work. We take our mindset, we build our foundation with that every single day. We're strengthening that foundation. Then we take some tools and we lay the tools on top of that. Hopefully our foundation is nice and solid. And then we find ways through an abundant mindset, through a grateful mindset, we find a way to take those tools, leverage those tools to create more success. And then the third thing is motivation. So what is motivation? Like, why do some people seem to be endlessly motivated? They can do anything. And other people, not so much. What's the difference? Well, first of all, people who are extremely motivated probably have a pretty solid mindset. They're an abundant mindset. They have a lot of gratitude, and that type of energy really gives us energy, right? It invigorates us and helps us move forward. So that's part of it. The other part of motivation, I think, comes down to clarity. Now, once again, in our industry, we are bombarded with messages. Hey, you need to be doing more cold calls. You need to be doing more open houses. You need to be doing this. You need to be doing that. Everybody's telling us from 1,000 different angles what we need to be doing in our real estate business in order to create more wealth. And usually that's what it's based around, is more financial wealth, not life wealth, but more financial wealth. And everybody's telling you, this is what you got to do. There's so many messages coming in. So then what happens is we look at all these messages and it's like, yeah, maybe I do need to 10x my business. Yeah, maybe I do need more leads. Yeah, maybe I do need to double my income. Yeah, maybe I do need to, whatever it is. And so once again, then what ends up happening is through this sea of nonsense and shenanigans and loud noises and bells and whistles and ding, 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 we end up getting confused. And so we end up, when people are confused, they tend to freeze. So we either freeze, or maybe we have some energy that we need to get out. We want to continue to pursue. We're trying to figure this thing out. But we have all of these ideas. We end up doing 1,000 things really poorly instead of doing 1 to 3 things really, really, really well. So when it comes to, and then eventually what happens is we burn out, right? If we freeze, we get frustrated and we burn out. If we do 1,000 things really poorly, we don't get the results that we want, we get frustrated and we burn out. So burnout is the antithesis to motivation. So how do we stay motivated? How do we stay motivated over the long haul? How do we create longevity within our business? Well, I believe it begins with clarity. The first thing we need to understand is, what do we really want and why is that important? I even have a coaching program that's called The Playground, and the whole intention of that coaching program is to get crystal clear on what you want and why that's important to you. See, the why is really important. Why is my favorite word in the entire English language, because it gets us to think about what we really want. So if I say, I want $1 million, that's great. Why do you want $1 million? Because then I can support my family. Why do you want to support my family? Because I wasn't supported when I was a kid. Well, why do you want to make sure that your kids have it differently? Well, because I want to, on and on and on and on and on. I call it going down the why hole. You ask yourself why enough times, you're going to figure out what your true what is. You don't want $1 million. I can tell you that right now. Nobody wants $1 million. They want what $1 million represents. And so when we talk about motivation, it's really important to get down to the core of what we really want. What is really motivating us? It's not the $1 million. It's what the $1 million represents. So let's figure that out. So when we talk about motivation, that is the first component of it, is we have to know what we want and why we want it. Now, the second component to motivation is, I call it roadblocks, right? So now let's say that we're able to go down the why hole. We're able to figure out exactly what it is you want that's really motivating you at the core, that's really pushing you forward. If we have clarity on that, and let me just back up on that really quick. If we have clarity on that aspect of it, what that does for us is it allows us to weed through the noise. So it's like 1,000 things coming in at us, and we're like, no, that doesn't align. That doesn't align. That doesn't align. That doesn't align. That's the one. So it allows us to get rid of all of the noise, get rid of all of the fluff, and really figure out, because we know exactly what we want, we know what aligns and what doesn't. It just naturally resonates with us. And we're like, yes, that makes sense. I want to do that. That is the power of clarity. And hopefully you can see, if you have that kind of clarity and you find that one thing and you know right off the bat, yes, that's the one. Can you feel that energy? Like, are you looking for that tool, that idea to come up? And it's like, yes, when you have it, boom, there it is. Well, that idea is going to show itself once you gain the clarity around what it is that really motivates you. The second aspect, once you know what that is to look at roadblocks. The reason that roadblocks are important is because we're always going to run into problems. We're always going to run into roadblocks. And so, and those roadblocks, depending on how big they are or how surprising they are to us, they can really derail our progress. So much so that we could just say, I'm not going to do this anymore. Right? We pick up this tool, we're all motivated, we know it aligns with us, and then we get going, and then something happens, and we're just like, I can't deal with it, right? So understanding our roadblocks up front can be really beneficial, because if we really stop and think, and it's like, okay, cool, so what are the possible ways that this whole process could get derailed? What's going to hold me back? What parts of my mindset are going to hold me back? What are the things that I think, feel, say, do that could hold me back from creating what it is that I want to do? What are the habits that are going to hold me back, right? What are the roadblocks that we have that are going to stop us from creating what it is that we say that we want in our life and in our business? And so the more awareness that we can bring to these roadblocks, the more likely we are to stay on the rails, because we're less likely to get surprised. It's when we get surprised with these big things, or when we see cyclical patterns come up again and again and again, and we get frustrated. Those are the things that derail us to the point where we lose motivation, we burn out, and we quit. So if we can bring awareness to those pieces, when they happen, we can adjust, and we can say, aha, there it is. There's that negative self-talk. There's that thing again, right? And we can bring awareness to it and say, okay, well, I'm not going to do that anymore. And so the frustration doesn't build to the same level. And so that's why identifying roadblocks is so important to staying motivated. The third component to motivation, just do it. Just do it, right? It's really easy, once again, in our industry, with all of these different resources coming into us, it's really easy to get stuck in the land of learning, right? Just get stuck. It's just, I'm going to learn about this, and 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 this, and this, and this. And in the meantime, you're not making any actual progress. It's just a never-ending classroom, right? More degrees, more certifications, more whatever, and we never actually take a step forward towards what it is that we want to create. I like to call this paralysis by analysis. So just be aware of that, right? We have so many things coming in. We need to be particular about where we're putting our time and attention so that we can take action towards the things that we want to create. So that's one aspect of the action piece. The other part is just take some action. Like a lot of times we can look at this and be like, I've got 1,000 things that I need to do. And so we freeze because we're confused. So my challenge to you would be to just find one thing and take action towards it, right? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. We don't need to eat the whole elephant right now. We'll get there. Right now, we just need to take a bite. And so when we talk about action, we talk about just doing it. It seems simple. And the fact of the matter is, it is. If you want to be a marathon runner, put on your running shoes. You want to learn how to play basketball better, go buy a ball. It's that simple. There has to be an aspect of just taking action. And once again, that comes back to mindset. If the mindset and the foundation is good, finding the motivation to take those first steps is a heck of a lot easier. So once again, there's really three components as I see it that will help us create the life and the business that we truly want to create for ourselves. It starts with mindset. That's the foundation. So what are you doing on a daily basis to solidify your mindset, to create that foundation of granite, right? The second component is the tools. The tools are important, but we do not need all the tools. We need one or two tools that really align with what it is that we're creating, and we need to get really good at those tools. And then number three, we need to find the motivation, which comes down to clarity. What really drives us, what really motivates us, and we align that back with our tools so that the tools that we're using we're motivated to use them. And the other part with motivation is once we know what it is we want, why that's important to us, then we start looking at what roadblocks are in the way that we need to be aware of so that we can avoid them. And finally, just take action. Go take the first step, take that first bite of the elephant, and get things rolling and off the ground. Now, before we wrap up, I just want to say one more time, if you are enjoying this content, please hit that subscribe button and don't forget to hit the bell. That way you get notified whenever we post new content. And lastly, please write some comments. Let me know what's working, what's not working. What questions do you have? Because that's going to help me tailor the content to exactly what you need to live the life and create the business that you've always wanted. So here's to your journey in our world, my friend. Make it a fantastic day, and I will see you soon.